My name is Will, and I am 35 years old. I live alone in my house, as I have no one in my life anymore. I once had a wife, but we divorced in a very bad way. Now, I am enjoying my own company in our countryside house, which belonged to my grandparents. There is no noise from cars, and everything is quiet and peaceful. I genuinely wanted to live with myself and enjoy the peace, but I was not expecting something really bad to happen to me in a few days. I got a very suspicious neighbor. He was my age, but his face looked much older. When we saw each other in the morning, while collecting the newspaper or milk bottles, I said hi to him nicely, but he didn't even pay attention to me. He gave me a stare, as if saying, "Mind your own business and stay away from me." I went inside my house again, but one night, I heard something strange. I heard a girl's voice crying and begging for help. When I went outside and searched around, I felt that this voice was coming from my neighbor's house. I was shocked because the voices were very clear. Someone was in pain and asking for help. It was the voice of a teenage girl, and the voice itself was very painful. As far as I knew, he lived alone and had no one in his life. Then who was this girl, and why was she crying and begging for her life? I was sure that the girl was inside my neighbor's house, and if she was calling for help, then I had to help her. But it was quite difficult for me because it was his own business, and I was nobody here to interrupt it. But then I got an idea. I picked up a cup and went to my neighbor's house and knocked on the door. For the first few minutes, he didn't open the door, but then he opened it and said, "What do you want from me?" I said, "It's getting really cold, and I want to have some hot coffee, but I am out of milk. So, can you give me a cup of milk?" He didn't open the whole door for me. Just his face was showing, so I couldn't see inside. He said, "Okay, I will give you the milk, and then you have to be gone." I said, "Yeah, why would I not go? I am just here for milk." He snatched the cup from my hand and then closed the door. After a few minutes, he came back with the milk and handed it over to me and said, "Now you can go." I said, "Okay, thank you." Since he didn't let me in, I then asked for a glass of water, knowing that it wasn't necessary because he would say I could drink water at my own house. And he said the same, rolling his eyes at me. I said that my water filter was broken and I was very thirsty, but he said, "I do not have clean water right now. You can leave because I was sleeping. Why are you doing this? Just go away. You got what you want." I was like, "Okay, I'm going, man." I wanted to see inside, but he didn't give me a chance. I was back home, and of course, I was not happy with this because I wanted to see inside. I don't think he liked having more friends. He had said, "Yeah, I want to live alone. I have nobody in my life, and I am enjoying my life alone." I said that I was going through the same phase and that I could understand. I actually wanted to do a little chit-chat, but he didn't even say anything good to me, and my plan didn't work properly. I came back home and was so worried about who the poor girl was. This man looked very dangerous. He had those black eyes and no emotions at all. Maybe he had someone in his life, and she was in pain. Maybe she had some injury, that's why she was screaming. But she was not only screaming in pain. She was asking for help. She was begging for help. She was saying, "Please save me, someone, please save me. I am in so much pain," and I couldn't ignore this. After that, it became like a routine that every night I heard her voice, and she was in so much pain that her voice was very agonizing. She was asking for help. "Help me, please help me." But then I used my brain and I thought, maybe he is watching TV. But why on earth would he watch the same show at the same time? There had to be something fishy. But one day, I saw something that cleared all my doubts. In his backyard, there was a broken TV. It meant he didn't own a TV now because the one he owned was broken, and he was not a rich man to afford another TV for his house. It meant that there was a real girl in his house who was calling for help. The next day, I quietly called 911 and told them everything. But when they came, they searched the whole house and left empty-handed. They didn't find the girl, and the neighbor said that he didn't have any girl in his house. Since 911 didn't find anyone, they had to leave. The next morning, I went to their office and asked what happened last night. They said, "We searched the house, but there is no girl in his house, and he doesn't have a TV or anything. His house is just as normal as it has to be. And maybe it's a misunderstanding that you heard a girl's voice, because as far as we're concerned, the house is clear." I thought that 911 was kind of useless because they didn't find anything in his house. They went inside. They must have looked all around, but they didn't find her. I said, "Okay." And I knew that this man was hiding something very cleverly that even 911 couldn't find. But I was certain that something was going on in that house. And now I had to take matters into my own hands. You guys must be thinking, oh, he is such a nice man who is ready to interfere in someone's affair to save the girl, to be a hero, but that is not the case, guys. Once, I had a baby girl, and she got kidnapped by someone. I never got her back because they asked me not to call the police, but I called the police. When the police got there, they had left with my money and with my daughter. I don't know where my daughter is. I want to help that girl because I couldn't save my daughter, but I will save her. Maybe it's my grief, it's a bad feeling, it's my agony, it's my pain that made me do this. But this is what I am going to do now. I am going to enter his house and search for the girl by myself. I started trying to keep an eye on his routine. Most of the time, he was staying in the house, especially at night, but in the middle of the day, he left his house for about 2 hours. One day I followed him. He went to a park nearby, sat quietly on a bench, and looked at the water. He sat there for 2 long hours, and he did this daily. So, now I was sure that in the middle of the day, for 2 hours he was not in the house, and that was the time I had to go there. I had to break the lock or whatever I had to do. I would do it and I would help the girl. My life has no purpose. I haven't done anything good in my life. I was not even a good father, and I lost my baby girl, who was my sunshine and my everything. Now I got a chance to do something good, to save someone else's daughter, and this could heal me. Because when my daughter was gone, my wife was also gone. She blamed me for everything. She said that she couldn't live with me because whenever she saw my face, she remembered that I had lost our daughter. It's your fault, you have done this, and you are the one who is guilty of it. I will not live in this house. I loved my wife so much, but she was right, and it was all because of me. In a month, I had lost my daughter and I had lost my wife too. I was in so much pain that I can't even explain. There is a saying that if someone is on an empty stomach, he is the bravest man on earth. It means that if you have nothing to lose, you have no fear. And I am the one who has nothing to lose because I had already lost everything. That's why now I am more than brave and I have no fear of anything. The very next day, I was sitting in front of my door, watching my neighbor's doorstep and waiting for him to leave his house at the same time. At the calculated time, he left the house. I got everything ready, the tools, the things I would need, and I also got my pistol. Then I tried to enter his house. Of course, I had to break the lock, and this was not a big deal for me because in my good days, I was a very powerful and energetic man. I easily cracked the door, cracked the lock, and stepped inside his house. It looked quite normal, but I knew that he had hidden the girl in a place where even the 911 could not find her, which meant he must have hidden her in the basement. I started looking for this girl. I looked for her in the basement. I looked for her in the attic, upstairs. I was calling her. I didn't have much time. I set the timer for 2 hours on my watch. I began to think that it might not be a girl, but I couldn't have been so misunderstood. I couldn't be such a paranoid person. I did hear her crying and calling for help with my own ears. But all of a sudden, I began to hear the voices again, and the voice was coming from a close point. And then all of a sudden, I saw a girl in the lounge. She was sitting on the sofa. Her hands were cuffed, and her mouth was taped. She was begging for help. Her eyes were full of tears. I was completely shocked, and I knew deep down that I was right. There was a girl in the house who was trapped by the man, and I was going to help her. But when I got near to her, all of a sudden, she disappeared. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? How can she be disappearing in front of my eyes? I was so shocked and speechless. Then, all of a sudden, someone hit me on my head, and I fell to the ground. The last thing I heard was, please save me. It was the girl again. After a week, I opened my eyes in the hospital. I was in very bad condition, and the man who hit me, my neighbor, was standing there. I got furious that he was the one who hit me. And what was he doing here? The doctor had to tell me, please calm down. We will tell you everything. I was screaming. I was talking loudly that there was a girl in his house, and he kept her without her will, and they had to call the police. This man is a freak, and he did this to the little girl. She was so innocent, but when the police came, they explained to me that there was no girl. There was no one in the house. We have searched the house. The 911 has also searched the house, and there is no such girl in that house. You are just assuming things. We found your medical records. You are a mental patient who had run from the asylum, and the house you are living in was not yours. You have broken the door and gotten inside. The owner is also found, and now you tell us why on earth you are doing all this. Then they found my mental asylum record, and the records told a story which was quite interesting and also shocking. The doctor had said that I was a patient with associative identity disorder (AID). In that case, I was associating my story with my neighbor's story. The voice I was listening to was only heard by me, and it was the voice of my daughter coming from my head. My neighbor had no one in his house. He is a simple and innocent man who is living alone. If he had a girl in the house, then 911 would have found the girl in the first place. But if they didn't find anyone and the police didn't find anyone, that means that I was making things up by myself, because I regretted that I couldn't save my daughter. It was my regret that dragged me toward the disorder, and now I was a patient with aid. I had run from the asylum 3 months ago, and the house I was living in was not mine. I had broken down the door and moved in there. I was completely shocked, and I was crying like hell because, yes, it was my story. I am a mental patient. I began to remember everything. After losing my daughter and after my wife had left me, I became a mental patient because of my regret, guilt, and unlimited sadness. Sometimes we don't realize how much our grief drives us crazy. After losing my beloved daughter, I went crazy. It was her voice that I heard asking me for help because I felt that I was not there when she was in trouble. She called me for help in the same way. I was sent back to the asylum, and the man whose house I attacked didn't even say anything to me. He said that since I was crazy, I didn't know what I was doing, so he would not press any charges. At the mental asylum, I heard the same sound again. This is life. Our sorrows drive us crazy, and nobody ever gets the sorrow of someone's children. It is very difficult. She was my sweet daughter, my little fairy, and I lost her, and then my wife, too. She left me. And the police also told me another thing. My daughter is no more in this world. They killed my daughter because I did not pay the money on time and I went there with the police. I was a sad man with a very dangerous disorder. That's why I have done all these things. I still miss my daughter. She was everything to me.